Welcome to the Clean Comedy Podcast, featuring James Creviston and Luke LaCoy. Yeah, we're about to get clean up in here, so clean your mouth out with a bar of soap and get ready for the Clean Comedy Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's James. Welcome to the Clean Comedy Podcast. I'm here today with my amazing sidekick and co-host, Mr. Luke LaCoy.
Woo!
So it's a great day. Don't forget to look at the background here and tell us what show it's from. If you can't tell me that just by what's on the wall there, I don't know what you're I don't know what's going on with your life.
Leave it to Beaver.
Yes. So today, we've already talked about last time. We talked about preparing to go back out on stage, preparing to get back in comedy. And we talked about writing. Now, today I'd like to talk about practicing a little bit. I know it sounds weird to say, oh, I can't go to open mic, I can't practice. That's not true. You should be able to practice your set at home. You should be able to understand your rhythm and your cadence. I don't know if you know this, Luke, but even Kevin Hart has been practicing his stuff at home. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he does his jokes in front of his family. He said they're a terrible crowd, but he really did say that. But he does practice his stuff at home because there's no place to go. You have to practice. You have to learn your cadence. You have to understand, where your pauses should be, where your punchlines should be, how you set things up, and that's what he's been doing. So taking this time, let's say you live alone. You have no one to come and listen to your stand-up, right? You can't talk to anybody. You're home alone. Don't throw bricks at people. Don't, burn people's hands or anything like that. But if you're home alone and you want to do stand-up, record your set, doing your set, listen to it, and then make adjustments, right? Write those notes. Oh, I should pause here. Like you should have your sets written out, how you're speaking or whatever. Break it down. Here's where I should pause. Oh, this needs a better punchline. This needs a better tag. Because you're going to hear it, and we all hate listening to ourselves. I literally hate listening to myself do stand-up. But you'll listen to yourself, and then you realize, oh, this punchline isn't as strong as it could be. I need to think of something else. And then you try it again. And eventually, yes, you'll get tired of it, but maybe record it 2 or 3 times, then lay off for a day or two, and then come back and listen to it, and then go through it again. Right now, you have time to do that. And so part of it is practicing, and part of it's rewriting. And you build those 2 skills together at the same time, and you're able to make a better set. So when you step out of quarantine or out of this COVID world, and we're back able to go on stage, we're able to do more stand-up in front of people, you'll have your sets built up and ready to go.
So are you like rewriting material, or are you writing material for the future, or are you writing about COVID?
I'm not writing any COVID jokes, dude. At
No?
all. No, I have a whole bit that I'm working on about religion. I went through about like 6 years where I was trying out different religions. I was trying to figure out what religion I wanted to be. I grew up mostly Methodist and Baptist, but I talk about learning about like Islam and Judaism and Jehovah's Witness and like Buddhism, Scientology, like all these other things. I was looking for so I have this whole bit, and it's right now it's like 3 minutes, but I think by the time it's done, it's probably going to be like an 8-minute bit because I cover every religion and I talk about what's good or what's bad, what I thought was silly. Like the Jehovah's Witness, they only have like a quarter of the Bible. That's a great pitch, right? For somebody who doesn't want to read. And we all know that there's parts of the Bible that just take forever. And I say, I'm looking at you, Psalms. Also, if you're going to do a book with stories that are better for your life, don't throw in some poetry. You know what I'm saying? Like that messes it up. So that's like one piece that I'm working on for that. That's just the Jehovah's Witness portion, right? And I'll do like the Islam, because I've been to like Islamic temples and stuff. I went to the 2nd largest Islamic temple in the world at one point in my life. I've done Buddhism. I've went and studied Hinduism. Like I've learned all these things, and I've seen different religions. And so I even cover Catholicism and being Baptist and being Methodist and evangelicals and like all this stuff. And so that's a long bit, but it's long because there's so many pieces of that puzzle I have to put together. So I am writing stuff, but then I also have bits that I've been doing for a while that I've been going back and rewriting, adding new punchlines, adding tags, all kinds of stuff like that. So I've been working on stuff, and then we've been doing shows. We've done a couple of Zoom shows and a couple of private gigs or whatever and stuff. And so I know what works and I know what doesn't, and I'm really trying to get to build my set so I can have an hour set that I can record. If everything goes well, hopefully next year. I thought it was going to be this year, but now it's going to be next year, it looks like. But that's the goal, is because we live in this world where there's too many gatekeepers. Like right now, there's only, if you want a special, it's HBO, Comedy Central, Comedy Dynamics, VidAngel, or Netflix, and maybe Hulu or Amazon if you're lucky. So 7 places you can do it. But if you record your own special, you can put it up on YouTube. You can put it on Amazon Prime. You can put it on Vimeo. You can put it on your own website. You can release it as an audio on iTunes or SoundCloud or Spotify, and you can get paid for those things. You can get it put up on Sirius XM satellite radio, and then other people know about it. Now you also get a credit. So now is the time to prepare your half hour. Now, if it's your first year doing comedy, don't try to write an hour. Don't be James, okay? Because I try to do that. My first year, I decided I want to do a half hour stand-up special for my birthday. And I hired Preacher Lawson and one of my other friends to come and be part of the show. I middled and I did half an hour. Preacher, I think, did 45 minutes or an hour. And of that 30 minutes, 20 minutes of that was good. Was good. Of that 20 minutes, 10 minutes of that was great. And of that 10 minutes, 2 minutes of it was awesome. So that should tell you, like, if you're in your first year, and that was my 9th month of doing comedy. That was ridiculous. Everyone that I knew, every comedian that I talked to, like big name comedians, and I knew a bunch, and I worked for some. I wrote jokes. That's the thing is, I had this weird false sense of like I can do it because I can write jokes for these people. Like I was hired to write jokes for a headlining comedian in my first year of doing stand-up. I was like, oh, dude, I'm the best. Like obviously they want me to write. Like I should be up there doing it. No, it was terrible. I wish I would have never done it, but it taught me a valuable lesson about writing and about preparing and about being so. But I prepared a 30-minute special by doing 5-minute bits and sets all over LA, and I put it together and I made it work. And then I also practiced that half hour at my house every day. Every day I was doing that set, recording and rewriting and punching out. And it was okay. You know, it was decent. And but yeah, so I am writing and preparing and rewriting. Mm-hmm. Are you writing and rewriting bits or new bits or what?
No, that's a good idea though. I mean, to like get a half hour to write the half hour now, that's a fantastic idea. I've only written like two or three small new bits. One's about tattoos, and then the other is just like a silly song. But it's just that, yeah, the temptation is always just to like write about what's going on now, but that's not going to work later on. And everyone's going to be talking about COVID if we get out, when we get out, I don't know.
That's like when we talked to James, I know I'm going to mess his name up. James McAnally. Did I mess that up? He's going to hate me. Anyways, we talked to him. He was talking about when he started stand-up, people were doing Trump jokes, right? That's what they were doing. That was the thing. And I never, ever did a Trump joke because everyone was doing it. Why are you going to do something that everybody's doing? Like, that's so ridiculous. Do your own thing, right? The comedians that break out are the comedians not doing what everyone else is doing. So if you go to open mic and 20 comedians do Trump jokes and you don't, boom, you're already standing out. You're different, right? So don't do that stuff. And the same thing's going to happen if, depending on what happens with this election, whether there's going to be more Trump jokes or we're going to get Biden jokes or what. I don't know what's going to happen, but if everyone starts doing it, if everyone starts doing COVID jokes, it's like, dude, I don't want to do any of that stuff, man. Like that's not, the only person that can get away with doing COVID jokes right now, Howie Mandel, right? Because that dude is already known to be like a germaphobe, right? So he could do it and be like, I knew this was happening forever. Like I knew we would all get sick if we just stood around each other and touched each other. Like he would get away with that because it's funny and everyone knows that's who he is, right? If that was your thing, you could totally get away with it. But I think everybody goes out and you're right though. Everyone's going to go out and start doing COVID jokes. It's what's going to happen. There's no denying it. It's what everyone's going to talk about. They're going to talk about what they do in quarantine, why COVID sucks or why it was great, how they, dealt with being single during this, and just stuff like that. Like maybe unemployment jokes, who knows? But it's all going to be related to quarantine and COVID stuff, and I think that's not what we should do. Also, here's the other thing. People are going to want to get back to normal as quick as possible. Yeah. So I hate to say this. If you're doing airplane jokes, you're probably going to do better off than the guy doing COVID jokes. I mean, you will, because people are like, yeah, I remember airplanes. I used to go on those before, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. 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 And I think too, like for me, I want to write about what's going on, but I think it's more it would be better to like write sketches, I think, with like COVID stuff, because there's plenty of comedy with everything happening, and just going to the grocery store, it's like I want to write something about this, but I think like sketches are probably better in this environment. Or like, yeah, just like little goofy things on Instagram and YouTube and little things like that for now at least. But yeah, for stand up, I would rather I would rather work on material that's going to work everywhere after I'm out and not have a time limit on it than yeah, spend all my time writing a COVID thing that's going to flop after 6 months when we're out.
That's what I was gonna say. You know, 6 months to a year, no one's gonna want to hear a COVID joke anymore.
Yep.
There's they just. I mean, it's the same thing. People are tired of Trump jokes, right? If a comedian goes up and does Trump jokes now, people are like, oh, come on, dude, talk about something new. Like, this is ridiculous. And it's just like that's where it is. You can only beat a dead horse for so long before people are like, come on, man, move on, do something else, be original. And originality is what wins in comedy. That's some of the best comedians are the original ones, the people that broke ground first and did stuff. That's why people always say, oh, Lenny Bruce and George Carlin and, Steve Martin and those guys broke ground. They were new. They were doing something different. So take this time, figure out who you are, what your point of view is, and talk about the stuff you want to talk about. If you're a comic book person and you love comic books and nerdy stuff, there's plenty of stuff to talk about, and it's relatable. Everyone now that has Disney Plus has seen all the Avenger movies and all the Star Wars movies. You can't not see them now. You have nothing else to do, right? So now you can harp on all that stuff. You could talk about Harry Potter. You could talk about, books and whatever. I mean, so many things that were not universal at one point are now universal because we all got stuck at home and we all had to be universal. We're probably going to hear a bajillion Tiger King jokes at some point. Like, I figure those are going to still happen for a little while. Yes, they were a meme, so maybe they'll wear off faster, but stuff like that. We didn't get enough Game of Thrones jokes because Game of Thrones happened and then, we went to this stuff. So maybe there's those. There's all kinds of stuff you can talk about. Talk about the stuff that's important to you. Like, I'm talking about my life and my journey and what I've been, because life is funny and people can relate to you on some level. Everyone's looked for or talked about or looked into religion or thought about not even being religious, right? So it's going to strike a chord with somebody, and they're going to understand, oh, this person's looking for their identity, their social identity, their religious identity, their spiritual identity, whatever it is, and my jokes will hit there. Now, it might tick some people off, right? They'll be like, well, you can't joke about that. But I'm like, okay, well, I don't care, dude. Like, listen, if God wants to strike me down, he can strike me down. That's on him. You know what I'm saying? But, like, I'm just making jokes. I'm not making fun of him. I'm not taking the Lord's name in vain. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just talking about the difference in religions. And every religion tries to sell you, right? They sell you their good side of this, and they try to hide their bad side. Oh, yeah, don't look over here. We don't need to talk about that part, So everyone does it. It's like, okay, cool. And we're all used to that for being sold other products throughout our life. Nike, right? We just do it. We make you an athlete. Yeah, but don't you guys like make kids make shoes for like a no? Yeah. Don't worry about that part. Just buy shoes so you can run faster and jump higher. It's like that's the stuff you want to talk about because everyone gets that stuff. Everyone knows what it's like. You could. I mean, if I was gonna come out of this, say I did want to do COVID related material, I would talk about getting fat. Or I would talk about either losing weight or gaining weight if that's what happened to you. Like, I got a little bit fatter during this time period. I just called it my hibernation time. Everyone, I wasn't doing anything else. I'm just going to go to sleep for a while. 3 months, wake back up, eat whatever I want, go back to sleep. It's just, I was hibernating every day. Just something like that. Like, that kind of stuff would be funny. And you're kind of touching on COVID. You're kind of touching on quarantine, but you're not really bringing it up. You're just talking about, how fat you got or whatever.
Yeah, I like that because I think the majority is going to be like complaining about, either being locked up or in the house. But if you're using your point of view for very specific things that happened to you during COVID, I think that's probably valid because that's, it'll be fun to talk about, at least for a good while after it happens. Or, everyone's grandma on Zoom, like, hello, things like that. It's super relatable, and everyone, they've experienced that at some point with the the family Zoom and
yeah, you don't even have to use the words COVID or quarantine. You could just say, I experienced a lot of time getting closer to my family, and we tried to really touch base and keep in touch with family that we hadn't seen for a while. So we started using Zoom, or we started using Skype, or whatever it was. We FaceTime with grandma, and this is how it went, and then you could, whatever. But you don't have to use those words. And I would, if it was me, I would avoid those words. That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't bring up COVID. I wouldn't bring up quarantine. I wouldn't bring up any of those words because it's going to evoke a negative thought, right? Because whatever happened
Yeah.
to people during this time, say they lost their job, say they lost a family member, they, got evicted, they went bankrupt, whatever it is, you don't want to bring that up. You just want to bring up something funny. So just be
Yeah.
aware. Um, I always want to talk about my experiences during 9/11, like what happened to me when I was in the Navy, but I know that the words 9/11 bring up bad things for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
For me, when I was in the Navy, I thought it was a drill, right? We were in the middle of the Pacific Ocean running drills that week to get ready to the Persian Gulf, and I thought the drill was somebody flew planes into the World Trade Center. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
man, somebody is really getting into this. Like, this is crazy. Like, there's some good writers for these things. Like, I wouldn't have ever come up with that. And then I get up and I brush my teeth. I get ready, thinking nothing of it, thinking, oh, this is a training scenario that someone. I mean, they're really digging now. Like, they're going for some hardcore stuff. And I get up to go eat, and boom, there's the two towers
Mm-hmm.
on TV on the mess decks with planes flying into them. And I'm thinking, oh man, I thought, that we were hiring Tom Clancy to write our training scenarios now, but apparently not. They just really happened.
Yeah.
So, but if I said that joke or if I talked like that, talked about it, it would invoke some weird feelings, especially if I was in New York doing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or some people who maybe lost their family or, whatever. It's just, you have to be aware of what you say, but this is the time to take the jokes that you have, listen to them, add toppers, add punchlines, practice them, work on it. Like if you're a comedian that's only had 5 minutes for the last year or whatever, dude, now is the time. Write 5 more minutes. Write 5 minutes every day. It might not be the best 5 minutes, but out of that 5 minutes, you're going to get 1 minute, right? And if you do that every day for the rest of this month, right, and you have 1 minute, that's 30 more minutes. And you can keep doing that and keep doing that. Now is the time more than ever to write, practice, rewrite. If you do those 3 things, by the time all this is over and you can go back on stage, you're going to have 10, 20, 30, maybe even an hour's worth of material because you've been doing the work, right? I always say this. Kevin Hart is one of my favorite people. And he always says, everybody wants to be famous, but nobody wants to put in the work. Here's my version of that. Everyone wants stage time, but nobody wants to write new jokes. That's
good.
That's the truth, man. How many times have you heard the same 5 minutes from someone every single time?
Yep.
It's frustrating, dude. Like, write every day. Every comedian that's not writing every day, I don't care if that's not your process. Fine, record it into your phone. Verbally say it out loud. Do whatever. If you're not coming up with new jokes every day, you're getting stale. There's other dudes that are coming up, like James from previously, and Tara Brown, and those people that are coming up that are working every day, and they're going to take your spot. And then when you're complaining, like, oh, I don't get any time on stage. It's not because of a color thing or diversity thing or race thing or sex thing or age thing. It's because you weren't putting in the work. You didn't do it. Sorry. Sucks to be you. Put in the work now, right? Athletes, NFL stars, they're not awesome on the field because they're only practicing on the field. They're also running every day, lifting every day, doing sprints, eating right, doing all these other things to get better. So the moment that 2 hours, 3 hours of playing football on the field, they've done 20 hours of work the week before or 40 hours of work or whatever it was to get ready for that 3 hours. So how much time are you putting in every day for that 5 minutes, 10 minutes on stage? If you're not putting in work every day, you have nothing to complain about. Sorry.
Word.
Sorry. End of rant.
Well, no, it's interesting. Like, I watched The Last Dance, and just Michael Jordan worked so hard, and he pushed everyone on his team to get to that level, which, I don't know if it's possible, but, he really strived for his whole team to be the best. And that's what he worked at every day. And he was the best.
Yeah, I mean, undeniably, right? Everyone says who's the best basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan is always there, right? Followed by LeBron and followed by Kobe, who also put in the work, man. Those guys put in the work. Same thing with great football players or great baseball players. They put in the work. You can't be great at something by being mediocre every other day. You're not. It doesn't translate, right? You can't be like, well, I'm going to be the best comedian in the world, but I'm never going to write a joke and I'm never going to practice at home. I'm only going to wait till I get on stage and then I'll be amazing. It's like, no, that's not how it works. Even like Dave Chappelle, who does workout bits on stage, he has stuff that he's written down, ideas or premises or things he wants to talk about. It's not like he's not thinking about funny stuff. And then he also keeps stuff in his brain. And then look at Jerry Seinfeld, who is one of the greatest comedians of all time. That dude writes every single day. I'm not saying you have to sit down and physically write, but you should be coming up with ideas or premises or rewriting jokes or working on stuff every day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Preach.
I feel like yeah, I feel like it became like this weird rant, and it wasn't intended to be. It was just I want to motivate you guys because listen, I'm not the funniest guy. I know that 100%, and I never claim to be the funniest comedian in the world. But I'm gonna out hustle every single person I possibly can. You know, if there's anything I've learned from watching all the comedians, listening to all the albums, listening to them on podcasts, reading material, I study comedy because I want to be great at comedy. Am I ever going to claim to be the best? Say I become Jerry Seinfeld level, I'm never going to say I'm the best comedian in the world ever. I'm never going to say that. If I say that, you guys are allowed to come up and punch me in the stomach, okay? It's on here, legally binding right here. If I say I'm the greatest, then come up and punch me in the stomach. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. But do I want to be a great comedian? Do I want to be a comedian that constantly gets laughs, that, gets on stage, that makes people's life joyful? And yeah, I do. 100%. That's my goal. I don't want to be, that doesn't mean I want to be the richest comedian in the world. I want to be the funniest I could possibly be and get the most laughs I could possibly get. That's my definition of success for me. And also getting paid to live a nice wage, right? I don't need to be a millionaire or billionaire. I just need to be a guy that can survive on comedy, get paid, and make people laugh. That's all I care about. So, end of rant. Hopefully you guys are feeling okay. Hopefully you're happy and joyful. I'm not getting down on you if you're not doing those things. Please just try to, because you're funny, you're smart, you're amazing. Do something with it. The world needs to hear your voice. They don't just need to hear my voice and Luke's voice and all the comedians that are already out there. If you want to be a comedian, or if you're just getting started in comedy, or you've been in comedy and you're doing the same 5 minutes, the world needs to hear your fresh perspective, your fresh point of view. Bring that game, bring it out. Okay? Thank you guys so much for listening. Luke, where can people find you?
You can find me at LaCoy Comedy. Or
LaCoy Comedy.
Luke LaCoy on just the Google.
Luke LaCoy on the Google. All right, I guess that's how it works. You can look up James D. Creviston or comedypreneur.com. Also, check out the YouTube. If you're listening to this audio version, check out the YouTube version. Like, subscribe. Leave us some feedback. Leave us notes. Leave messages in YouTube. I answer that stuff, and I'll shout it out. Also, if you didn't get to watch it on YouTube just so you can write in what show is behind me, what this background is. All right, thank you guys so much for listening. Have a wonderful week. Bye.
Yeah, we're about to get clean up in here. So clean your mouth out with a bar of soap and get ready for the clean comedy.